Like and subscribe. Support me on Patreon for exclusive content. Here's the video. I have depression. It's an overbearing mental health issue that impacts my life in a lot of ways. Every aspect of my life is colored by it, which can make feeling normal difficult. On some level, everyone can relate to that, right? Everyone knows how it feels to be overtired, overwhelmed, and burnt out, especially in our current world, a world of constantly rising prices, a never-ending string of televised murders that you get to see on your phone the first thing in the morning, Horizon Zero Dawn remasters. It's hard to be alive. That's not something unique to me and my depression, though. I think everyone feels that way right now. But how can you combat the overwhelming tide of it all? I think we do a lot of things to tune it out. I play music as loud and as often as I can, try to get on a healthy sleep and workout schedule, keyword there being try. I leave my apartment to see my friends when they're in town, but what happens when I can't sleep? When there's just too much to be covered up by all of that? For me, and I imagine maybe for you, it's games. These are the games I play when it all goes wrong. I want to be clear about something here. The games I'm talking about in this video aren't exactly cozy games. You know, the sort of thing that's the gaming equivalent of a warm mug of hot chocolate, your Animal Crossings and Stardew Valleys, that sort of thing. That's not to say I don't like those games. I certainly do and find comfort in playing them. But for me, they're just not what I gravitate to when I start feeling the firm grip of the world start tightening around my neck. I don't see myself reflected on the screen as I play those sorts of games. I don't feel seen by them. Instead, I play Dark Souls 3. I think I'm in the minority opinion when I say that Dark Souls 3 is my favorite game in the series. A lot of people love how fresh the first Dark Souls is, as it paved the way for so much of the current gaming landscape, but something about Dark Souls 3 speaks to me when I'm feeling depressed. Maybe it's the washed-out color palette that mirrors the often grayscale concrete streets all around me in the Midwestern suburb I live in. Maybe it's the way that everyone you talk to feels so tired of the whole thing. Dark Souls 3 is all about the final days and the transition between an age of fire and darkness, and it's up to me to either extend the age of fire or let the darkness finally set in. But no one cares.
You're not fit to lick their boots.
How could they? Is the life they're all living really worth preserving? Tiptoeing around once great halls only to uncover rot and filth, corruption that comes from the failing will of men. There's nothing to grasp onto in a place like the Kingdom of Lothric, no joy. And yet, forward I push, cutting my way through the tortured kings and petulant rulers in search of something warm, a light in the darkness, a place to simply rest in between the horrors. Despite the rot and gray, however, the world is warm, not from the flames of conquest and war, but in the hearts of those who still believe in something good, because something good is worth preserving and tending to. The Firekeeper is an ever-attentive symbol of what's to be found beneath the soil and bones covering the earth, a maiden, fair and pure, led not by her eyes, but by the warmth of the fire she vows to keep. After speaking with her, she says a simple phrase, but one I've turned over in my mind again and again like a coin.
Mayst thou thy peace discover.
May you find peace. The Firekeeper doesn't say this as you commune with her to grow stronger, no, she says it as you depart back into the horrors of Lothric. What peace can be found here. There's nothing to be found but blood and ash, death and death and death. I can't see it, but the blind can. It's taken me 3 playthroughs of Dark Souls 3 to understand the point of what the Firekeeper told me. She hopes not because she sees, but because she doesn't have to. She hopes because she can, because there still exists breath in her lungs. I find hope in the smallest places of Dark Souls 3. It's all I can do. Ludleth of Corlin, Champion of Ash, a Lord of Cinders, says, "I may be but small, but I will die a colossus." He doesn't wield incredible power, able to cut down the fiercest of warriors or look down at his kingdom from a high throne like his kin, but he knows that what he's doing is right. He understands that he must answer the call and that he must keep hope alive. Dark Souls 3 is a game about constant death and the oppressive weight of the world sitting firmly on your timid shoulders, but I see past that now. It's a game about rebirth, about choosing to live and fight for the hidden warmth in a cold world. It's about pushing forward and making incremental progress no matter how many devastating setbacks you face. It's about finding hope in the smallest places. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is a weird game. It's an oddball sequel to what many call the greatest of all time, and yet it's not remembered in the same light. It drops the traditional hero story of Ocarina of Time to tell a tale where you don't matter to anyone, and that even the people you do come to know soon forget that you ever even existed. It's a game about the cruel passage of time. Majora's Mask is set over the course of 3 repeating days, set in a town stuck in a time loop, where after the 3 days are done, the world ends. Ultimately, the game is about stopping the loop and saving everyone from a horrible fate, but in order to do that, you'll need to reset the world over and over again, wiping yourself from existence each time you do. Don't we all feel like that from time to time? Trying to make a difference for someone out there, but it's drawing patterns in the sand. The waves eventually come to wipe my efforts away. Does that even matter, though? Do we do what's right for lasting impact, or do we do what's right because it's what's right? There's a lesson in futility firmly placed at the center of Majora's Mask, but I've come to find comfort in my interpretation of it. As much as I waffle back and forth on its meaning, I do feel like the game is trying to tell me that even if it's going to be wiped away in mere moments or 3 days from now, life is worth living and worth sharing with others. The problems that everyone faces in Majora's Mask feel so big, and they're solved with time and care, but it doesn't matter. Even when you help the Deku Kingdom cleanse the waters of its swamp or thaw the Gorons out of perpetual winter, things go right back to their broken selves soon enough. Upon reflection, that's me, fraying like a fabric, grasping at something to keep me together only to fray again in time. Majora's Mask is a game with a real relationship to time. You can feel it slipping through your hands as you try to pack in as much as you can before the clock needs to be reset, or you die alongside everyone you've been fighting to keep alive. Romani, Kaife, Pamela, and her father. It's like writing a story on running water. While time is always ticking away at the bottom of the screen, there is a true freedom in Majora's Mask's approach to time. It's slipping away so quickly, but take a moment to really think about it all. There are an infinite number of loops to be made. The world doesn't need saving every time. You can't be expected to solve everything all at once. There's real comfort in the way that Majora's Mask presents the passage of time. Everything is moving so fast, but the only one expecting you to save everyone, an impossible task, is you. You are expecting too much of what you can do with the time you're given. If only I could move faster, do more, I say to myself. I wish I wouldn't. I wish I would just look at the moon as it moves through the sky. I wish I would just spend some time talking with people who I care about. There's something so pulpy about the way that Alan Wake is written. It's the sort of thing that if you don't buy into, you'll think is totally lame and lacking in self-awareness. But if you can accept a game about a horror novelist written like the novelist himself wrote it, then you'll understand what makes Alan Wake so gripping. It's about a man who creates all of his worst problems himself, pushing away everyone who might represent the ability to change. Maybe you can see where I start seeing myself with this one. When I say that Alan Wake is a horror game, I actually don't really think that's very accurate. It wants to be scary with its axe-wielding phantoms and physical manifestations of darkness, but that doesn't really scare me. What resonates most about the horror of Alan Wake is that many of the monsters trying to kill Alan are just people who are disappointed in him, asking where the next pages of his manuscript are. It's not very scary when compared to the monsters in other horror games, but it hits on something deeper than 1,000 zombies ever could. It just feels very real, very honest. Alan Wake tells the story of a man who's pushed himself over the edge in a way that isn't immediately apparent. His relationships have fallen apart, his career hasn't gone the way he wanted, he's not the great writer he always dreamed about being. No matter how hard he tries to be, Alan Wake just isn't Stephen King. But what's so meaningful about Alan Wake as a story is that I don't think Alan is meant to be Stephen King. He's a talented enough writer, certainly, but the more he tries to be someone he's not, he stumbles farther away from success. As it slips deeper into the spiral of its plot, Alan Wake drops its initial simple premise of being about a man looking for his missing wife and starts grappling with more symbolic problems in a war between the darkness and the light. It becomes tricky to know the objective truth about what happened in Bright Falls. How could the clicker that Alan's mother gave him when he was just a child have found its way to the center of the story? I don't think it matters if it's real or not, just what it represents. In all the smallest ways, there's something we can grip onto with white knuckles as we nervously walk through the unlit halls of our lives. We're not meant to be Stephen King or anyone else we admire as long as we can be ourselves and stick to the pieces of us that make us who we are. I admire Alan Wake's messiness when it comes to its plot because who cares? It allows me to turn over its events in my mind until I start seeing the cyclical patterns it hides behind subtext and inference. It hasn't made its way into this list of games yet, but Alan Wake 2 is just as worthy of dissection and interpretation. It's a text about text, a story about deciphering who the hero can be and why it might not be you. While not a quotation from the game, it feels like both Alan Wake and its sequel ponder a question raised by the now infamous playable teaser for Silent Hills. I walked. I could do nothing but walk. And then I saw me walking in front of myself. But it wasn't really me. Watch out. The gap in the door. It's a separate reality. The only me is me. Are you sure the only you is you? I wish I didn't love The Last of Us the way that I do. The series has become something of a punchline with its continuous re-releases and adaptations, but past the cynicism of what the franchise now represents, there exists a story that resonates. There's a reason why Naughty Dog, the studio behind the game, is often revered as one of PlayStation's best.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you.
Blood and spit, pain, grit. The Last of Us hurts. It cuts too deep, too close to home for too many reasons. I'm not a father, not yet at least, but I know how deep my love can run, and I know what it can make me do. I know what it makes all of us do. But I'm not always proud of who I am when I let my heart take over. Self-destruction. That's the word I would use to summarize both The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. Both games follow people trying to cover their trauma in the only ways they know how, by lashing out at the people they feel deserve to hold it instead of them. It resonates. It's a story of broken bones, broken wills, and a search for a light in the darkness. The central question that The Last of Us asks, however, is about what the light we're searching for actually is. Is hope for the future based on freedom from an infection? Is it based on the love we share? Is hope all about the quiet, fleeting, final moments we spend together? Or is it about letting those moments slip between our fingers voluntarily? Loving them while they're here, but allowing them to pass as all things do. People are complicated. Joel and Ellie and Tommy and Marlene and Abby and Owen and Lev and Yara are all deserving of critical and moral dissection. Well, maybe not Lev. I would die for him. I've spent countless hours thinking about the actions of the people in The Last of Us and how everyone is good and bad at the same time, reprehensible and justified, and abhorrent and sympathetic. The takeaway, however, is that I look at Joel and Ellie and Abby with as much kindness as I can. Compassion has to be led by understanding. I know why they all act how they do. It doesn't make it morally right, but it does make me understand why. And understanding that makes the whole thing even sadder. Don't I self-destruct? Not in the ways they do explicitly, but with the ways they feel. I, too, run away from the moments in my life that I never get closure on. I hold the things that will heal me so tightly that all my grip does is eventually push them away. I try to justify my own reprehensible actions by pointing at others when I should be pointing at myself. I am Joel. I am Ellie. I am Abby. And yet, replaying The Last of Us, I afford all of the worst characters kindness for how they act. I've seen how they got where they were. I understand them. Do I do the same for myself? I've seen every misstep and failure I've ever made firsthand, but where does that same grace go when it comes time to look in a mirror? Sometimes you play a game to feel good. Sometimes you play a game to feel bad. Sometimes it's a little bit of both. The Last of Us is a lesson in empathy. You don't have to agree with what everyone does. You don't even have to like it. In fact, you probably shouldn't. But at the very least, you can understand why they became who they did. You see the good. You see the bad. Most importantly, you see that even the best of us can get caught in cycles of selfishness and despair. It's a game about breaking the cycle, choosing what the light is, and learning to follow it. As far as I can remember, there's only ever been one loading screen tip that's really stuck with me. Take your time. Persona 5 boils down one of its main ideas so succinctly it's almost maddening. Like Majora's Mask, Persona 5 has a relationship with time, but instead of allowing you to do everything you want over the course of an infinite forever, the game is based around the idea that you can't do everything. Some things are going to slip between the cracks, but as long as you take things one day at a time, one step, one moment, you're going to get by just fine. Persona 5 is all about greed and corruption in the real world, all about how people are at their best when they work together to fulfill common needs, but how quickly it all falls apart when someone serves only themselves. It's the perfect game for processing how I feel about the state of everything right now. It's a long game. It feels overwhelming when you get going and can feel overwhelming even up until the very end, but it all comes back to take your time. Bit by bit, nail by nail, row by row. On the days and nights when it feels like everything is crashing down around me, Persona 5 exists as a way to get out of the house and feel like I'm settling into a real routine of going places, seeing people, feeling alive. On paper, it might sound pathetic. You can't just run out to get coffee somewhere. Not always. You can't just take a shower. Some weeks I can, others I can't. That's just how depression works. But a game like Persona 5 helps me reclaim the feeling of normalcy that gets so often taken from me. It's not as heavy as The Last of Us or Dark Souls 3, but Persona 5 shines a light onto the real ways that people take advantage of each other. A predatory teacher, an abusive mentor, a corrupt politician. Sometimes it feels like it never ends. Each villain is its own news headline that I've read over and over again. Persona lets you take the power back. Villains aren't killed. Instead, their fate is to repent, apologize, own who they are. There's something cathartic about grifters coming forward and claiming the title with shame. Despite being about themes of abuse, mistreatment, and apathy, Persona 5 is a concretely optimistic story. You can't have friends like Ryuji and Futaba and not crack a grin. There's hope because they know a better world is out there. They just have to make it. Whether it's over the course of a week, or a summer vacation, or a school year, or even a lifetime, there's people out there who believe in the good in other people. That's what I need to hear when it's all going wrong. That there are people out there who believe that we'll be okay based on the sole fact that we all desperately want to be good. I think that's the theme tying all of these games together. Courage, tenacity, traits I want to embody even when the low light of the evening starts to fade and I slip into an unkind night. When it all comes crashing down, I look for hope in the smallest, darkest places. Try to understand that although time is ever flowing and ever cruel, that the grains of sand slipping out of an hourglass are actually a gift, giving meaning to each moment since they don't last forever. Work on accepting that I am me and I'm the version of myself that I need to be to keep writing myself into existence. That good things don't exist only to be taken away and make me bitter, but they exist to make me smile and remind me that I am just as deserving of love as people who hurt people. That it's not just me trying to be a good person. There are people out there who are optimistic for the future, even though the future I see in front of me is bleak and gray. It can feel foolish at times to turn to video games, an entertainment medium, for companionship when it all breaks bad. But that's what art can do. Is it foolish to see myself reflected in a book, in a film, in a painting? Never. Like and subscribe. I've got your back.